Welcome, everyone, to another episode of In the Eye of the Hurricane, presented by Coastline Contractors. I'm your host, Chad Choate, joined, as always, by the head football coach of the Manatee Hurricanes, Jacquez Green. I want to thank you for joining us as we will talk everything Manatee football. Coach, let's jump into last week's game. Big, obviously, long-time rivalry between Southeast Seminoles and Manatee Hurricanes. Good to give them here on our turf. Really good game. Ended up 41-0. And a running clock, really good performances all around from really every facet of the game. We scored touchdowns on offense. We scored a pick six on defense by Kavion Smith. We had a punt return for a touchdown by Ramsey Cole. So when all three facets of the game are clicking like that, it's really good things and really positive. Obviously, defense playing well, pitching a shutout. Give us your overall thoughts as you've now had time to reflect on the game from last week.
It was good for the kids to go out and play the way they played. Southeast had some life coming into this game. It was not like one of those games at the end of the year when they was 1-9. They was 1-0. Had won their first game when they opened up their new artificial turf on campus. They had beat the team pretty handily the first game of the season. So it was a long time rival in the county. So it was a big time games on both sides, and our kids came out and played well from the start.
Is there anything particular, offense or defense, especially anything particular that you looked at and just really impressed of what we did? Is there something that maybe you had been talking about all week with the guys and, hey, we're going to focus on this, and we actually did it and accomplished it?
Well, we knew Southeast was going to come out and try to run the football. We knew going into the game they was going to get in the Wildcat with one of those big kids in the backfield and try to run the ball downhill. They did it against Central Brooksville the week before and had a lot of success doing it. And we wanted to impose our will defensively. We wanted to shut down the run game and make it hard for those guys to breathe up front in the run game. We wanted to make it a physical game each week. We want to make it tough on the line of scrimmages. And, if we can play well on the offensive and defensive side of the football in the front end, the line of scrimmages, we've got a great chance to have success with the type of skill we have.
Well, let's talk about the offense first. I thought we were extremely efficient, I think, is a really great word because Andrew Heidel only one incomplete pass. I think it was 13 for 14 or 12 or 13, somewhere around there. And just really efficient with the ball, throwing the ball around. Again, throwing to several wide receivers. I think Tor Gilly was the most with receptions, but, Jalen Bryant had a great touchdown. Thought he made a great play on the ball and turning his body and catching it. Run play, the run production was there as well. Got several guys in the run game. And so really just all around offensively, other than, they didn't play the second half, the starters. And when you score on punt, that takes away a possession on offense. And you score on defense, that takes a possession away on offense. So I think we were 4 for 4 on possession of having the ball in the first half with our first string offense and scoring. But all in all, just a really impressive night from the offense, I thought, and just very efficient.
I thought we played hard offensively. I think we only had to punt late in the fourth quarter of the game. Andrew did a good job of spreading the football around to various receivers. Early in the game, when we first tried to assert our dominance, we came out running the ball, and Keyshawn had a few big long runs early in the game. So we did a good job of running the ball and being able to pass it early in the game. We created some big plays and moved the football pretty easily early in the game.
The one thing that definitely stands out, and we talked about it during our broadcast and during the live stream, is the physical play from the wide receivers in the perimeter, right? And something that not a whole lot of receivers love blocking, right? They're out there and they want to look good, they want to catch. No offense, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's hard to teach, and really, to be honest with you, it's a hard thing to do too, out in space like that, and having to be able to stock block a defensive back who can see where the ball is going. That's another thing. Wide receivers, their back is to where the running back is. Tell us a little bit about what Coach Price does with the guys, and is that something you all emphasize, is the perimeter, being tough and blocking in the perimeter?
Coach Price has done a terrific job with our receivers. They probably one of the best groups on the team. The kids, they know what to do. They rarely make mistakes at that position, and they give great effort in the run game. And that's something they've been doing the last 2 or 3 years on the perimeter, giving great effort. From our bigger receivers all down to our smaller receivers like Ramsey Cole, even B.J. Bean last year gave a great effort on the perimeter. But that's the way we spring long runs. That's the way we can just throw quick screens on the perimeter and get long runs. Those guys have to buy into the team aspect of the game and not just worry about themselves and them getting the football.
I think something that is also impressive to me, and hopefully we'll probably talk about it all year, is Andrew's just awareness of, especially I know you ask him to do a lot of RPOs, run pass options, and if teams are gonna have to eventually have an extra defender or try to stop the run with Keyshawn if he continues to run the way he's running. And that opens up the lanes for the RPOs, or maybe even obviously Andrew, pulling the ball. How vital is it to have Andrew? He's a fourth, third year starter, obviously senior, very headsy. How is it? It's got to be big to know that we've got that guy in there that has done a consistent job of reading those, and because that's definitely part of our offense.
He does a great job making the reads in the RPO game. Also, he does a great job of getting all the guys involved. I played receiver a long time ago, so I understand the need to get all the receivers involved in the game plan. And so I always made an effort to make sure everybody got touches or touched the ball early in the game. Coach Bean tracks down the sideline who has touches, who don't have touches. So we try to make sure everybody has touches in the game. And I think the toughest offensive stop is not one with great balance. Balance to me is when you got different guys that can touch the ball and make plays within your scheme. So we try to get each and every one the ball. And Andrew does a good job of moving the ball around to all different guys on offense.
I think we do that well, but I also think we do run pass balance really, really well too. And is that something? I know you just sparked a question. Is that something you try to do? As you're scripting, as you're looking at calls, are you trying to stay 50-50 or as close to thereof run pass?
Not really 50-50. I always want to be balanced. Balance to me is having a solid run game and be able to throw the football also. I think if you were to scout games that I've coached over the years, if I run the ball between 35, 38 times and throw about 16 times, that's usually a good game for us. That means we've been running the football. That means we've thrown the ball when we want to throw the ball and not when we had to throw the ball. So that's usually a good game for us. Anytime we throw it less than 20, if I start getting up to 35, 40, that means we're probably losing or probably losing or getting stuffed in the run game, which is usually not very good. Now you kind of like the defense know you got to throw the football. It's not the same when you can come out and throw when you want to or be able to run the ball when you want to.
Well, you mentioned one of the things we were trying to go into the game against Southeast was to stop the run, right? And why to make the offense become one-dimensional. That's something, obviously, we don't want to become. Let's talk about our defense against Southeast. It's funny. I talked about a stat that I heard on the podcast, right, of a 20% chance of scoring if there's a tackle for loss in the game or on that drive. So I started charting that during the broadcast, and I think I got to 9 and stopped. And those were multiple tackle for losses during a series, which obviously is just going to bring that percentage of scoring way down even further. I look at our opponent coming up this week. Will be our toughest opponent. We'll talk about them after the break. But I look at, there's not just one person doing it. It's not just Ian. It's not just Alvoid. It's not just Christian. It's not just Caleb on a blitz. It's not just running on a blitz. It's all guys at any facet. Kayvon, any of these guys at any time can cause havoc in the backfield and create either tackle for loss, quarterback hurry, sack, turnover potentially. And just how vital is it that front 4 to 5 guys, depending on who we're bringing, how vital is it for the defense to go?
Coach Bates has been doing a good job of coaching up pursuit and effort and make sure all the guys get to the football. I think the way we move and how active we are on defense is an opportunity for a lot of different guys to make plays. And I think a lot of different guys make plays when the other guys are unselfish and just do their job. Once you get a guy trying to make all the plays, that's when you start creating gaps in the defense and holes in the offensive line, and it creates long runs. So as long as our guys are doing their job, I think each and one of those guys will have a chance to make plays, and all those guys will have a chance to eat up front.
Yeah, talking about making plays. Kayvon Smith, back-to-back games with a pick. Well, obviously this one going pick 6. Had a lot of really great plays, open field tackles, couple of other ball deflections. Really just coming into his own as a defensive player and a guy and I coached him in Little League, was an offensive guy his whole life, right? And never never been, in this position of the last year jumping in, and now this year, I think really excelling and understanding the game, understanding the defensive side. Talk a little bit about Kavion Smith.
Kavion always been tough, man. He's always been tough. When I first met him, he also said he was a wide receiver. I'm like, dude, you got big old arms. You're like a linebacker. You're like a defensive player. And he was very open-minded about trying another position. So we tried him out at defense and went to FCA camp, and automatically he just flashed at the camp. He was on every tackle. He was form tackling out there. He was running his feet. And then this year when he came back in the spring, he just was a whole different player. He was so much better. He was a guy that gives us a lot of flexibility on defense because he can cover slot receivers. He can play out in space. He can cover the guys in the pass game. He can still get up in the box and blitz and run defense. So he can do a lot, and I think he's one of the main guys that gives us a lot of flexibility on defense.
Yeah, he's that. To me, he is that position that has become really popular the last 5 or 10 years.
Like a nickel.
The star, the jack, or whatever they want to, whatever defend. I had it. Mine was the bandit, right? Whatever they have, whatever name it is, it doesn't matter. But it's that one player that's special that can kind of do everything, right?
Yeah.
They can be in space, that can guard somebody, they can blitz and be physical in the run game. And no, I think he has been somebody that I think in this defense. I don't know if we have somebody else like him that could jump in and just replace him. But I will say that that goes even working inside to Caleb and to Ronan and the linebacker play I think has been exceptional. And I will say this. I don't know if I've seen a hit what Caleb did. Now on the perimeter you see all the time a bubble play or something like that. But for it was a very clean alley lane for him to run through, and it was inside the tackles, and the hit that he leveled, I think he just handed off to the running back. Is something that I don't know if we had that in recent years, a guy like that, but he's one of those has a nose for it. Him and Ronan both, and a run through a brick wall.
They were like that. I often told friends about like John Lynch when I played for the Bucks. I said it's crazy how this guy was so good, but yet he got so many clean knockout licks in his career, just because he had such a ability to read plays and be in the right position when the right things
knowledge of the
happening.
game, yeah.
Just knew the game, just had a sixth sense out there where the ball was going to go. And Caleb is similar. He gets a lot of big hits because he knows exactly where the ball's going to go. He knows exactly where the ball's going to hit. And the way he plays, he's full go, full speed each time, him and Ronan.
Yeah. And, obviously a lot of times you may know where it's going, but you got to evade blocks. Yeah. You got to get there. You got to see it. And then another good night from the secondary, too. No real deep balls. I mean, I think we're going to see, hopefully, right, a great year would be that we're not giving up any deep balls because they don't have time to throw deep balls, and it makes it that much easier for the secondary. But at times, I do think, and just kind of want to get your thoughts on this, when you do have a defense like ours, a lot of speed, we're doing some pressure packages, some different things like that. You may kind of bend but don't break. There may be times like you break because they catch us. They're going to run screen behind it, wide receiver screen or running back screen or something like that. How do you coach both things? Like, hey, we got to be aggressive, we got to do what we do, but also be ready for this, right?
You just have to do your job, man. I think we got in trouble a few weeks ago when we sometimes the safety have to read number 2. And instead of him reading number 2, his eyes in the backfield, seeing what the quarterback does, and not even have no understanding of what 2 is doing. So, just have to emphasize, make sure you do your job. You'll have a chance to make plays if you do your job. You got to also realize the ball has to come out. We bring pressure often, so the ball has to come out. It'll never be able to just sit and catch the ball in the backfield. Even against Lake Minnetonka, those deep passes were quick throws.
Sure.
Those quick seam throws, quick slot fade throws. So they won't have time for the most part to hold the football. So just do your job on the back end. And as I often say, put a lid on the coverage, make sure the ball's thrown in front of you, and we should be okay.
Last thing to talk about last week was special teams. I mean, very good special teams, scoring a touchdown. Ramsey Cole, I don't even know if he was running full speed, and he probably wasn't, how fast he is. But great job. And we were talking about it with Danny Carter and I. Pick your poison, right? You can put Ramsey back there and Jock Harris is back there. You could take those guys out and put brand new 2 guys in there, right? And just kind of put, Keyshawn, and then maybe it's Brian, and then, that we have the weapons to be able to do that. How hard is it for teams to not only you got a game plan on our offense, on our defense, and do those things, but now you better be really, really good in special teams covering punts, covering kickoffs, or otherwise you're going to be got on that too.
Well, we have got the last few years as teams have started popping the ball up to our up backs, and we always get good field position. We're getting the ball at 35, 40-yard line. Sometimes touring those guys or breaking tackle and taking took it a little further down the field. So we've also played lights out on kick coverage.
Agreed.
I personnel that myself. I want a number of tough guys that can run down the field and hit people, and they've been doing a great job, man. They really taken a hold of that team. They really go against each other about who's going to be down first, or who's going to get the big hit and stuff like that. So I've been very, it got to a point last week I thought the Southeast kid didn't even want to return the ball.
Right.
It kind of like he fell down back there on like the 10-yard line.
Definitely not.
So,
and I think it goes to our depth.
Yeah.
Right? The depth and the talent that we have. I mean, I'm watching Jaquan, I'm watching Peanut running down, and Daniels, and I mean, these guys are going down there full head of steam, and they're wanting to do some damage and wanting to do,
they're trying to prove that they should be on the field and playing offense and defense. So you got Zion Newell and Keith Parham. Those guys were second-team guys are really battling for first-team reps also. They're trying to prove they're supposed to be on the field. And they know, like, if you ain't doing your job on special teams, you're not going to play offense or defense. For us, you got to do your job on special teams first.
Yeah, that's where you cut your teeth. That's where you get going. But listen, I thought it was a great game. Obviously, 41-0 scored is great, but really just all three facets of the game is really what I thought was where we really excelled. And looking forward to this week. So before we get there, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short break as you hear from our sponsors, and you are in the eye of the hurricane. All right, welcome back to In the Eye of the Hurricane, and we're going to move from last week's game against Southeast Seminoles to this week's game against the Lowndes Vikings. And Coach, I'm really, really, really excited about this game, and really for a couple reasons. I think it's always fun to kind of go and travel and get out and go to someone else's place. I enjoy it as a coach, as a player, being able to travel and get to other places, and specifically try to beat a team on their own home field is always a good thing. But I think from a coach's standpoint too, getting our guys out of that comfort zone, making a little bit of a change of a day for them, et cetera, an experience that hopefully will bode well for us later on if we're doing it in the playoffs and that sort of thing. But Lowndes Vikings, they come in. I mean, they're a perennial power in the state of Georgia for a long, long time. Awesome atmosphere at the Concrete Palace in Valdosta. And, they come in 3-0 and really just being able to score at will on almost everybody they're playing. I think they're averaging probably 50-some-odd points. They've scored 60 twice. In the 60s, 149. Now their opponents are 1-2. 2-0, and they're 2-1 and 1-2. So not anything great just yet. Regardless, though, they've got some guys and they've got some dudes that can run, throw, pass, catch. Tell us about what your thought is. First, let's talk about the game and scheduling the game. Folks may not have heard about the schedule and things like that in the preseason. Tell me about the game and why did you even schedule Lowndes, and then we'll go into what you see from the film study.
I always thought if I ever became a head coach, I wanted to go to South Georgia and play a high school game. I want all my kids at Manatee High School to experience just about everything they can experience as a high school athlete. And I think that would be one of the things on most people's bucket list, to go play in the South Georgia stadium to get the feel for the type of atmosphere that would be in the South Georgia game. Lowndes is one of the prominent teams in Georgia high school football. They won 4 or 5 state championships. I think they were probably one of the teams of the 1990s or 2000s in the state of Florida, state of Georgia. So, and it's also not super crazy far. It's only 5 miles over the Georgia border, so it's right on 75. It's the school that a lot of people always say they see when they round up 75. They always talk about the school on the right. That's Lowndes High School. And Lowndes, they was 4-6 last year, so they trying to bounce back from a subpar season last year. Adam Carter's their head coach. He just won a state championship at Grayson maybe 3 years ago before he took the Lowndes job. He's a big 3-3 stat guy. He holds a bunch of clinics over the state of Georgia and all over the United States on the 3-3 stack. He turned around another school up in Atlanta a while back, Creekview, about 6 years ago. So he's one of the coaches that's on the rise in the state of Georgia. Very popular coach. He's taken over Lowndes. He's trying to bounce back from his first season last year. They have some great individual players. They have a 6'4", 205 quarterback, number 7, Jace Johnson, I think his name.
Yeah.
I think he might be the number 1 quarterback in the sophomore class in the state of Georgia. He's a pinpoint passer, great accuracy, great snap on his passes.
Can run the ball really well, too.
He can run it also. They have a running back, quarterback, number 5, Brown. He's shifty as all get out. He's about 180, 85 pounds. So I think everything starts with their quarterback run game. But those guys also have the ability to throw the ball off of it also. Have a good sized offensive line. They're well coached. Probably the best offensive line that we've been against in a while. They come off the football. They're aggressive. They block to the whistle. They play low with good knee bend. So it'll be the first time this year that our defensive front has to go against the guys that can actually move them off the ball. So I'm excited to see the game, not only from a head coach perspective, from just watching the action, the one-on-one matchup. So it'll be exciting.
I agree. I think that the matchups, and we'll talk a little about that as we go along, but I do think that this will obviously be the best team we've seen, but I think we're going to be the best team they've seen too. Yes. And that's what's going to be exciting about this. And let's talk a little bit more about them as an offense. And so I agree with you. I think that their quarterback being a tall, athletic kid, typically they do look like they set up the quarterback run to then pass. But he's passed for like 450 yards. I think he averages he's like 75% completion, averages like 15 yards a pass, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, so extremely accurate, like you said. When you got a guy like that can do both things really, really well, he's run, he's physical, and then can spin it and throw the ball really well. From a defensive point, how do you stop? You know what I mean? It's like pick your poison. Which one do you really go with? How do you say we got to stop this or we got to stop that?
Well, first you got to distort the blocking pattern, the run game they want to run. They're a heavy power run game team, so you got to find a way to distort that and try to make them one-dimensional. Once you take it with the run and you make them have to throw it, then we can really bring all types of pressures and get after the quarterback then. But everything in that game going to start up front. We got to be able to stop their run game. They run the quarterback a lot, which gets them a +1 in the run game a lot of times. So we have to get an extra head in the box to stop that. They use a physical running style. They play a fullback that's like 230. Number 1, I think, he's like 230 back in the backfield. So they have some big guys, but it'll be a physical game for us. It won't be no game when we throwing bubble screens on the left and right. It'll be a game when we got to take on blocks and spill the football and come downhill.
Well, I think the biggest thing, I don't think anything exotic from a formation standpoint and things like that. Not coming in a double wing or something, weird that you never see. I think it's formation-wise we see, and we saw a lot of the Wildcat, like you said, against Southeast. They came out, obviously I don't think as good as what we're going to see against Lowndes, but we've seen it, and it's not anything too crazy. Talk about real quick, you mentioned, I think this is important, that all 3 levels of the defense have to play that run fit really, really well. When you start pulling guys in the power game, or now a running back is going to be an extra blocker so the quarterback can run. Those things create gaps and extra gaps along the line of scrimmage that now your defense has to fill. Talk about every level's responsibility, from the defensive line to the mid linebackers to safeties having to fill in the alley and things like that. That's going to be extremely important this week as we play Lowndes.
They got a real tough one when they go tight end wing with 2 backs. So they down block, they kicking, and then they got a lead guy also, and the quarterback's running. So they creating 7 to 8 extra gaps on this side of the field. So we got to be able to play it well. We have to be very physical at the point of attack. You have to make sure we bump and adjust on the back end very well. And, at the same time, you want to get your safeties involved in the run game, but at the same time, you can't get caught up in play action and give up long throws over the top. So I think Coach Beatty has a good game plan from what I've seen on the practice field so far. I think we got the type of kids that can stand up in the paint against a tough, hard run game. So we'll see.
I think the 3 up front between Ian and Alvoid and Christian, I think they understand that this is they know what they see on film, and they understand that this is going to be a tough physical game. And I'm really excited to see how they're going to call it, and I really think they're going to come to the call. I think one of the biggest things with games like this, when the run, especially that run game with the quarterback, penetration. If we can get behind the line of scrimmage, and if we can set the line of scrimmage back a yard or 2 back into there, there onto their side of the field. I think that bodes really, really well. And I think that, again, Lowndes has not seen anything like our front seven this year. And I'm really excited to see how we answer the call and how we play. Let's talk about the offense for a little bit. Our offense against their 3-3 stack. We saw a little bit 3-3 stack last weekend of Southeast. They kind of do it a little bit, and Bradley's always done that at Braden River. Talk about why the 3-3 stack is tough, and obviously you mentioned Coach Carter kind of being a guru, and having the 3-3 stack. And by we say 3-3 stack, 3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, typically stacked all behind each other, 5 yards apart, and then 3 safeties, in 2 corners and safety up top. Tell me why it's so hard.
I think early on it was hard because you had 6 guys right in the box, or possibly 8 if you in a condensed set that can come from anywhere in the field. I think now football has advanced so much that it's not as tough to block as it was 4 or 5 years ago. But they do a good job by that. They play some cover 4 out of it. They play some cover 3 out of it. It's also a good formation for you to stay balanced. If you're a one-high team playing cover 3, it's easy to stay balanced. It came about as a way to stop spread offenses, so you can get quicker guys, faster guys on the field, and you can still stay balanced against 10 personnel, 3x1 and 2x2 sets. So. It's a good defense. It's the defense he always ran, so I'm sure he knows it inside and out. They do a good job at it. They shut most of the guys out that they play early in the year, so we'll see. We'll be in for, hopefully we on to it and we see some things that we can take advantage of. So hopefully our guys understand the game plan and we can make it work.
So, obviously when you get a defense that is, and you don't have to get too intricate in the game plan to give anything up, but when you do have a defense that is and it is pretty just even, right, on every side, no matter what the formation, how do you find what to pick or what you think may pick? Obviously, as the game goes on, something may be working that you may not have thought of, and we'll go back to that, or something you thought was going to work doesn't work, and that's different in game plan. But as your coaches, you guys are watching film, how do you look at that and say, okay, here's what we may want to exploit? Is it a person? Is it a way someone plays? Or is it just, hey, we're going to do what we do no matter what the front is and go from there?
Well, the first thing I look at is how they line up against our base formations. I think the next step is how can we run our main base plays versus their formations. And then the next thing I look at is who can we take advantage of? Where do we have a matchup advantage at? Where do we have a matchup disadvantage at? And we go from there. But the main thing is I try to run as much stuff as what we run as possible. We rarely make up new plays during the week or make up new plays when we game planning. So the kids pretty much know the game plan, just a matter of how we're going to run or what formation we're going to run it out of. Everything with us will start with we got to establish the line of scrimmage. We got to be able to run the football. We got a young offensive line, but the thing with them, I want them just to get better each and every week. Each and every week get better and better. They're smart kids, so I know their thing is just to play football. The more football they play, I think the better they're going to get.
I agree. I think they have played pretty well. And moving forward every game, go back to Hillsborough, I think we have gotten better up front, a little more physical every game. It doesn't seem it seems like they know what they're doing, where to go, who to block. But just being that young, being 3 sophomores, it's the physicality of running through the whistle, through the contact.
Yep.
And I think we've progressed on that. 2 questions I want to ask you kind of about this week. Number one, with last 2 games, running clocks both, first team guys haven't played a full game yet. Is that something in your mind a little bit that are we ready to get into that physical mano-a-mano match for 4 quarters? And is it something that sometimes as a coach like me, we really haven't seen that yet? Are we going to be able to match that intensity for 4 quarters?
I wouldn't mind getting into a game like that. I think we have as much depth as anybody that we'll play against, offensively, defensively. We can even bring in Johnson Kelly on the offensive line if we have to. So we have pretty good depth in all the positions this year. We want to make it a slugfest. I think our kids are mentally tough and can handle that type of game. So, but both of us is uncertain for both teams. Neither one of us has played a team that's going to be as good as the team that we're going to play on Friday night. So, both of us is in that type of issue going on Friday night.
So that brings me to my second question. is we know it's a great environment. That's why you're bringing the kids here. The Concrete Palace, they'll be stacked. There's nothing else to do. No offense to Georgia, there's nothing else to do, right? There's no beaches. There's no amusement parks. There's nothing, right? It's high school football on Friday night, which I love it. And I think that'll be a great experience for the kids. Tell us a little bit about the game plan for Friday, traveling. What are you doing? When are we going? What are your thoughts on? Because everybody's a little bit different. Do you stop a couple hours, get them out and do a stretch, do something light to eat, get them back on the bus so they're not sitting there for 5 hours? What are some of your thoughts in the game plan of the trip?
Well, we'll leave it a decent amount of time to get there and not have to rush wherever we go. We're going to feed the kids before we leave, a couple of hours before we get to the stadium, and a couple of snacks on the bus. We'll also try to get them out and shake their legs out and loosen up somewhere along the way. My director of football operation has the itinerary made up, so we'll try to. At the same time, I want the kids to enjoy the trip.
Sure.
I don't want the kids to get so caught up into this football that they don't enjoy their high school football. Just looking back at some things I've did in my life that I'm so caught up in them, when I get through, I'm like, damn, I ain't never get a chance to enjoy it. Yeah. So I want those.
And the bus rides are typically the most fun time.
Yeah. So
when you go back and look at your high school career, probably even college,
just
even probably some pros.
With the guys.
The guys are together, and you're able to have fun. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I want them to have fun, enjoy it. At the same time, be respectful, don't be too loud. Still realize we got a big game in the hand. But I want the guys to enjoy it, because some of these kids probably never even been to Georgia 19. So I want them to enjoy going to South Georgia, playing this game, because it's something you're going to always remember. Everybody remember Friday night high school football. You remember that more than any football you ever going to play at any level. Everybody remembers Friday night football.
Well, it's going to be an exciting one, and we haven't gone out of state, in several years, and like you said, this is kind of an easy one to be able to travel and go do, and I'm excited for the team. I'm really excited to see. This is going to be the first real test. We've done what we're supposed to do the past 2 weeks. We've beaten who we're supposed to beat. I think we did it in really good fashion. Scored on all facets of games, shut out, and really some really good football. But now here's going to be our first test, and it's here. It seems like this week's gone by pretty quick because no school Friday, no work Friday, on Monday for Labor Day. So the weeks kind of go by a little quick, which is a good thing. That's fine. So I'm really excited. So, Coach, thank you for joining us and giving us your time, as always, here. And for the Hurricane fans out there, thanks for tuning in. We are going to be on the road this week, Valdosta, Georgia, taking on the Lowndes Vikings. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock. We will be streaming on ManateeFootball.com, Manatee Football YouTube page as well. That'll start at 7:30 with the Shake Pit to countdown to kickoff. As always, go Canes, go.